Get down. Is losing fun?
No.
What are you having fun for? That's what losing sounds like.
The story begins with Game 5 of the 2001 American League Division Series, where the Oakland Athletics are squaring off against the New York Yankees. From the very start, it is an inherently unfair fight. The A's are working with a total yearly payroll of just over $39 million, while the powerhouse Yankees command a massive budget of $140 million. Predictably, the Yankees advance to the next round, leaving the cash-strapped, small-market A's to quietly exit the postseason. The very next day, the team's general manager, Billy Beane, drives out to San Francisco to meet with the team's owner, Steve Schott.
Billy,
I need more money. I'm not asking you for tens of $20, $30 million. I'm just asking you for a little bit of help.
I'm asking you to be okay not spending money that I don't have.
Billy has actually done a remarkable job keeping the team fiercely competitive on a shoestring budget. But the tragic fate of a small market ball club is that you can never retain your elite talent. Every time Billy develops a standout star, they get poached by wealthier teams offering monstrous contracts. Their number one star, Jason Giambi, was just lured away by the Yankees on a massive $100 million plus deal over 6 years. Their number two star, Johnny Damon, is gone as well because Billy simply can't afford his $8 million annual salary. Stripped of his marquee players, Billy finds himself facing another complete roster rebuild. Back in the front office, a room full of old-school veteran scouts are locked in a fierce debate, throwing around names of players who could potentially replace the three departed cornerstones. But rather than analyzing raw production, these scouts are obsessed with old-fashioned intangibles, aesthetics, and even the appearance of a player's girlfriend. They argue that an unappealing girlfriend indirectly proves a player lacks self-confidence. Billy calls the whole system an unfair game. Under a payroll system with such a massive financial chasm, it is mathematically impossible for them to develop elite players, let alone assemble a team capable of competing with the giants. Billy's core philosophy is clear. If they keep using traditional scouting methods, they will never outcompete the rich ball clubs. They have to find a completely different lane. However, the old-school scouts clearly have no idea what Billy is talking about. This reminds Billy of a painful memory from his youth. On the eve of his high school graduation at age 17, scouts visited his childhood home. His parents were told that Billy was a rare phenom with infinite potential, strong, incredibly versatile, a true five-tool prospect who could hit, run, and defend, destined to be a superstar in New York. The team backed up their praise with a massive signing bonus to secure his future. At the exact same time, Billy had been offered a full-ride scholarship to Stanford University. Ultimately, Billy walked away from higher education and chose professional baseball. But the moment he stepped onto the big league diamond, he realized the hard way that he didn't actually have what it took to succeed at that level. He never became a baseball superstar, and he forever lost his chance to attend an elite university. This failure became the defining regret of Billy's life. Since he could never win a championship ring as an athlete, he became a general manager, fiercely determined to build a championship roster from the front office. A few days later, Billy travels to negotiate a trade with Mark Shapiro, the GM of the Cleveland Indians. Billy targets a talented young reliever named Ricardo Rincon, but Mark shuts him down immediately, stating that Rincon is too expensive for Oakland's budget. Pivoting quickly, Billy offers a solid player of his own in exchange for outfielder Karim Garcia, plus $200,000 in cash. Since Garcia is currently dealing with an injury, Mark is genuinely tempted by the deal. But right as they are about to shake hands, a heavy-set young kid in a suit leans over and whispers into Mark's ear. Mark instantly changes his mind, declaring that Garcia is completely off the table under any circumstances. Billy had already made massive concessions to make the deal happen, yet it falls through anyway. Furious and frustrated, Billy storms out of the room and heads straight for the fat kid's cubicle to find out who just ruined his trade.
Who are you?
I'm Peter Brand.
Hit with a barrage of sharp, aggressive questions from Billy, the kid, Peter Brand, freezes up in pure panic. Anxious and overwhelmed by the crowded office, Peter turns to Billy and signals that there are too many ears around, suggesting they move the conversation elsewhere. He leads Billy out to the parking lot. Peter is a recent Yale economics graduate who has just broken into the baseball industry. Though he looks soft-spoken and painfully shy, his perspective on the game is incredibly razor-sharp. He tells Billy that the entire baseball scouting system is completely antiquated and broken. Teams are blindly chasing flashy players while entirely ignoring the exact statistical metrics that actually lead to wins. He points out that Johnny Damon, whom Oakland just lost, isn't worth a fraction of his $7.5 million salary based on the data, and that Billy was actually better off letting him walk. Peter's bold, data-driven ideas align perfectly with Billy's frustrations. Years ago, scouts had walked into Billy's living room with a fat check and empty flattery, convincing him to pass on Stanford and enter the MLB draft, where he was taken in the first round by the New York Mets. But everything that followed proved he was drastically overrated. Late that night, Billy calls Peter with a haunting question. Based on his current statistical models, would Peter have drafted him in the first round back then?
Would you have drafted me in the first round?
I'd have taken you in the 9th round. No signing bonus.
Shortly after, Peter packs his bags and arrives in Oakland, just as Jason Giambi's giant poster is being torn down from the stadium walls. Upon meeting Billy, Peter hands him a thick stack of data reports, having meticulously evaluated 51 undervalued players. He begins by calculating the exact number of wins the A's need to secure a playoff berth. Then, using complex mathematical modeling, he aggregates a massive database covering every single player in the major leagues. Through this statistical model, they can uncover immense player value that the rest of the league completely overlooks. Peter explains that valuable players are constantly cast aside and devalued by the industry due to superficial biases like age, appearance, or quirky personalities. But this data model completely eliminates those flaws, allowing them to build a highly efficient, championship-caliber team out of 20,000 available players, all at a price the A's can actually afford. The crushing crisis Billy is facing has found its perfect solution. With Peter's arrival, Billy feels he has finally discovered the master key to unlocking a whole new era of championship baseball. During the front office meeting, when Billy selects 3 completely obscure, heavily discounted players from his list, every single veteran scout in the room vocally questions his sanity. Fortunately, the ultimate decision-making power rests entirely with Billy. He only called this meeting to hand down a mandate. He has absolutely no interest in getting guidance or advice from these old-timers.
This is not a discussion.
One of the players Billy picks is Scott Hatteberg. At this point in his career, Hatteberg has severe nerve damage in his hand and can no longer throw a baseball. Yet, Billy looks him in the eye and asks him to consider playing first base. Billy then pulls a pre-drafted contract straight out of his pocket. Hatteberg is deeply grateful. He never imagined that after being completely left for dead by the league, someone would value him again. Although the salary is dirt cheap, at least he gets to step back onto a big league diamond. Along with Hatteberg and the quirky, underhanded pitcher Chad Bradford, Billy signs Jason Giambi's younger brother, Jeremy Giambi. Together with David Justice, a 37-year-old washed-up outfielder, they form the new core of the roster. This radical move triggers furious backlash from the team's head scout, who rants that Billy's statistical modeling data is nothing but pure garbage, completely uncomparable to the seasoned eyes of veteran scouts.
I'm not gonna fire you. Fuck you, Billy. Now I will.
Unshaken, Billy makes a ruthless executive decision and fires the head scout on the spot, appointing a new head of scouting. As the team grinds through spring training, the media mocks this bizarre lineup relentlessly. The press declares that this ragtag group of mismatched puzzle pieces will only embarrass themselves on the field and stands zero chance of winning. After all, the roster is riddled with sick and injured players, and their 36-year-old star player is so out of shape he is practically dry heaving on the field after running just a few steps. After a week of intense training, the entire coaching staff remains completely cynical about the new acquisitions, especially Hatteberg's forced transition from catcher to first base. Everyone questions whether he has the raw ability to handle the position, but Billy stubbornly insists on keeping Hatteberg on the field. Fortunately, after a grueling adjustment period, Hatteberg finally shows glimpses of progress, though he is still far from what they need. Even so, Billy and Peter remain unfazed. firmly believing that Heidelberg will eventually find his pre-injury form and take that crucial first step toward a championship. As opening day creeps closer, the media, hungry for a story, turns this temporary patchwork roster into a massive talking point for public ridicule. The moment the opening ceremonies wrap up, Billy changes his clothes and heads straight to the gym. True to his golden rule, he never watches his own team play in person. Instead, Peter sends him real-time text updates on the game. However, during the game, manager Art Howe completely ignores Billy's game plan. Instead of starting Heidelberg at first base, Howe stubbornly sticks with the veteran Carlos Peña, while the quirky Chad Bradford is left glued to the bench. This act of defiance leaves Billy absolutely furious, because benching them completely breaks the mathematical certainty of the data, ultimately costing them the game. In a tense confrontation later, Billy implores the manager to use the starting lineup he built, but Howe responds with cold mockery, treating Billy's data theory like a total joke. Howe continues to do things his own way, and the A's plunge into a brutal losing streak. Before the season is even fully underway, their loss column quickly ticks past 10. The media and the fans relentlessly blast the front office, claiming the team has completely lost its mind, arguing that baseball is a game of human beings, not spreadsheets. Billy and Peter find themselves under crushing, suffocating pressure. Chatting in the office one day, Peter asks Billy why he never travels with the team to away games. Billy tells him the cold, hard truth. He refuses to develop personal relationships with the players, ensuring that when the time comes to fire or trade them, emotion won't cloud his judgment.
Either get a bullet to the head or 5 to the chest and bleed to death.
During a team flight, the newly traded David Justice asks a bizarre question. Why do the players have to pay out of their own pockets just to get a soda from the clubhouse vending machine?
Billy likes to keep the money on the field.
Soda money?
By May, the A's have dropped 26 games and are sitting dead last in their division. This time, in a rare twist, the fans don't blame the manager. Instead, they demand the general manager's head on a spike. Billy tracks down the team owner, Steve Schott, and begs for just a little more time, promising that by July, the team's performance will completely turn around. If not, he will step down voluntarily. Billy has sacrificed everything to build a championship team. He divorced years ago, and his daughter, Casey, lives with his ex-wife, Sharon. Sharon's new husband is a multimillionaire living in a massive beachfront mansion. Interestingly, despite being divorced for years, Billy still wears his wedding ring. His daughter Casey loves music, and when she comes to visit, Billy takes her to a music shop to pick out a brand new guitar. A few days later, after another humiliating home loss, Billy walks into the clubhouse and finds Jeremy Giambi blasting music and dancing on a table, completely content with losing. A toxic, loser mentality is spreading through the room like a contagious disease. Looking at this group of hopeless, undisciplined veterans, Billy can no longer suppress his burning rage. He decides to risk his entire career and his job to completely purge this terminally ill roster. Cleaning house means trading these players away or cutting them loose immediately. Jeremy Giambi, the ultimate clubhouse cancer, is put on the block. Billy unloads him to another team for whatever cash they can get after a few quick phone calls. But when Peter hears that Billy intends to get rid of Carlos Peña, he turns pale with shock and frantically tries to stop him. Peña is an all-star caliber talent. Trading him away means Billy will have to answer to furious fans, the owner, and the entire baseball establishment. Using the cold-blooded executive strategies Billy taught him, Peter smoothly executes the roster cuts. The two men then march directly into the manager's office, informing Howe to his face that Giambi is gone and that Heidelberg will be the starting first baseman in the next game. No exceptions. Finally, Billy steps into the roaring silence of the clubhouse and delivers an incredibly fiery, electrifying speech to the remaining players. On top of cleaning house,
You may not look like a winning team, but you are one.
Billy completely axes the fee mechanism on the clubhouse soda machine, throwing it wide open for free, unlimited drinks. But there is still a massive missing piece. Billy needs to find a true leader for this team. His eyes naturally land on the 37-year-old veteran, David Justice. In terms of both seasoned experience and fierce personality, Justice is the perfect fit. Billy tells him straight up that he needs him to step up and lead by example for his younger teammates. Before each game, Billy analyzes every single player one by one, meticulously breaking down their flaws and giving them the exact advice they need to succeed. Breaking his own golden rule of never getting too close to the roster, Billy begins opening up to his players, building real, heartfelt connections. Under his direct influence, the players start motivating one another, and a toxic clubhouse transforms into an environment where everything is moving in a beautiful, positive direction. In that exact moment, the team's destiny completely shifts. By July, the A's turn in a stunning, league-best record of 17 wins and only 4 losses. The media and the fans call it an absolute miracle, but they blindly shower all the credit onto manager Art Howe, who shamelessly basks in the unearned glory and fame. Peter is furious on Billy's behalf, but Billy doesn't give a damn about superficial praise. His mind is locked entirely on the grind. Billy has his sights set on acquiring Ricardo Rincon, the relief pitcher from the Cleveland Indians, knowing that securing him would heavily reinforce their bullpen for a deep run. The only snag is Rincon's hefty salary. To make it work, Billy engineers a clever 3-team flip, trading cash and a player to the Mets to secure Acton plus $225,000 in cash. That cash is earmarked to cover exactly half of Rincon's remaining $450,000 salary for the season. But how to cover the other $225,000 shortfall? Billy has no choice but to pitch it to the team owner, Steve Schott, who flat out refuses to fund any more of Billy's unconventional roster decisions.
Tell him I'll pay for him.
But when he sells him for more money next year, he's keeping the profit.
Because Rincon's arrival creates a roster logjam, Billy is forced to cut ties with Jeremy Accardo, a young player who has been struggling lately. It breaks Billy's heart to deliver the news, but at the end of the day, business is business. With a fully reinforced roster, the Oakland A's become an absolute buzzsaw, tearing through opponents on a blistering 10-game win streak. Then comes 11, 12, 13, 14. By the time they hit game 19, they are still completely undefeated, tying the longest winning streak in American League history, a mind-blowing record that hadn't been touched since 1947. On September 4th, 2002, the eyes of the entire sports world are locked onto the Oakland Coliseum. The A's are hosting the Kansas City Royals, and one more victory will etch their names into the history books forever. Billy had originally driven out to scout a minor league affiliate to avoid the stress, but on the road, his daughter begs him over the phone to come back and witness it. When Billy slips back into the stadium, the A's are riding a dominant 11-0 lead. It looks like a certified blowout, but suddenly, a nightmare unfolds. The Royals' offense violently wakes up, stringing together elite hits and repeatedly flooding the bases. The home crowd is silenced in pure shock, and Billy retreats to the back hallway, unable to bear watching the collapse. When the Royals' number 19 crosses home plate, the score is deadlocked at 11-11. A historic 11-run lead has evaporated into thin air. Heading into the bottom of the ninth, manager Art Howe hesitates for a moment, then makes a gut-check decision to send Scott Hatteberg to the plate as a pinch hitter. Even Hatteberg can't believe he is being called on in the ultimate clutch moment. He locks in, swings, and crushes a majestic, towering walk-off home run into the night sky. As he rounds the bases in an absolute trot, absorbing the roaring adoration of the fans, the A's secure a thrilling 1-point victory. The ragtag group of outcasts who were universally left for dead at the start of the season had just manufactured a miraculous, historic 20-game win streak. Yet, having survived decades in the baseball industry, Billy knows that regular season streaks are just shiny ornaments. If you don't win the final game of the World Series, the owners will still throw you out on the street. When the postseason dust settles, Billy's life temporarily returns to a quiet calm. Out of nowhere, he receives a phone call from John Henry, the billionaire owner of the Boston Red Sox, inviting him out to Boston for a meeting. Although Steve Schott had already offered Billy a lucrative contract extension to stay in Oakland, nobody in their right mind turns down an invitation from a legendary, historic franchise. Billy arrives at the iconic Fenway Park, a stadium that feels like holy ground to any baseball fan. Henry is deeply infatuated with Billy's revolutionary vision and wants to poach him to run the Red Sox front office. After all, Billy's Oakland A's won an incredible 103 games on a tiny $41 million payroll, while the luxury tax juggernaut New York Yankees spent a monstrous $126 million just to win the exact same number of games. While the Red Sox boast deep history and infinite cash, they have been cursed. failing to win a World Series title for nearly a century. Henry wants Billy to bring his mathematical models to Boston to break the curse, backing up his offer with a mind-blowing, historic $12.5 million annual salary. The world of professional sports is full of star athletes making 8 figures, but for a front office general manager, this is a historic, all-time record salary. Who could possibly resist that kind of temptation? But Billy doesn't say yes right away. He flies back to Oakland, locking himself inside an empty locker room to think. Peter naturally knows that the Red Sox are aggressively trying to buy Billy away. He just doesn't know the exact number written on the check. When Billy hands him the paper, Peter takes a sharp, trembling breath. The Red Sox are playing with absolute monopoly money. Peter then leads Billy into the video analysis room, pulling up footage of a 240-pound heavy hitter named Jeremy Brown. 6 weeks prior, Brown hit a ball and sprinted frantically toward first base, completely terrified to advance to second, entirely unaware that he had actually smashed a towering home run over the wall until his roaring teammates pointed it out. Peter looks at Billy and delivers the ultimate truth. You've already changed the game. The Red Sox's historic, multi-million-dollar offer is living proof of that. Billy walks out alone onto the pristine grass field of the empty Oakland Coliseum. Baseball has always been the singular source of his deepest agony and his highest glory. Ever since he hung up his cleats and retired as an athlete, he has rarely stepped back onto the diamond itself. But right now, he lies flat on the ground, listening to the quiet echoes of his own heart. The next morning, Billy sets out on a drive, popping in a tape his daughter Casey recorded specifically for him. If he accepts the Red Sox's historic multi-million-dollar offer, he will have to leave California behind and pack his bags for the East Coast, meaning his precious moments with his daughter will become fewer and further between. Ultimately, Billy Beane walks away from a historic 8-figure salary, choosing to stay with the Oakland Athletics to keep fighting for that elusive postseason crown. 2 years later, a defining moment validates the absolute brilliance of Billy's data-driven philosophy. The Boston Red Sox secured their first World Series title since 1918, successfully breaking their near-century-long curse. The weapon they used to achieve this glory? The exact mathematical data models pioneered by Billy and Peter. This is the ultimate truth of Billy's Moneyball legacy. Whether a lingering shadow of regret hides deep within Billy's soul for passing on that contract, well, only God knows.